The market is terrible. I can't sell my house. I got all these problems. The world's falling apart. If you've thought any of these, it's probably because, you're probably going through something with your house. My name is Eric Wilkins. I am a real estate agent. I'm also a real estate investor, and I want to teach you how to think like a real estate investor when selling your personal home or buying the future home you're looking to buy. 2026 is going to be an interesting year. No one has a magic ball of what that's gonna look like, but I do know that it's probably gonna take a little bit of creativity to sell a house, and you can get some really good deals if you look at buying a house with a term called creative financing. Another word for this we could use is seller financing. There's many different creative ways to buy and sell a home, but the one I want to talk about today is seller financing. And I'm going to walk through a deal that I have on the market that is actually available for seller financing. I want to show you why this could be an incredible deal for you, or you could do this when listing your own home or buying a different one. So the home I have here is 6818 Westover Drive in Granbury. This home is awesome. We'll spend just a few minutes talking about that. So here is the home itself. It is on the river. It's a very well-known house in the Granbury area, especially in Pecan Plantation. You can see right there, the river goes up here. The home sits back here in these trees. It's truly an incredible property. This is a waterfall that almost goes the whole length of the house in front. It's just awesome. So really unique on the inside, got a lot of really cool looks to it. The flooring's nice. It's in good shape as far as the house goes. Windows look out there, just an awesome property. So the seller here is having a little bit of problem. We're having a little bit of problem selling this house. The reason is because we can look at all the reasons. We can ask, is it because of the marketing? Nope. Is it because of the price point? Nope. This is one of the best price per foot homes in the neighborhood. I believe it is because the market we are in and affordability is the problem right now. To be able to afford an near $800,000 house, you have to spend a lot of money to make that work. So I went to this seller and said, hey, let's talk about owner financing, seller financing. Is that an option that you would be willing to do? And he said, well, maybe. Depends on what that looks like. So I threw out there and said, hey, I have done creative deals myself in order to buy and sell property to where I had to be the bank, or I needed someone else to be the bank because I couldn't get a traditional finance loan for whatever reason. So one of the reasons on a property like this may be because someone doesn't have enough down payment to put 20% down to do a traditional mortgage. Yes, there's lots of different banking options for down payments, but we're specifically talking about seller financing right now. Another reason, and the most important reason, is the affordability of once you put that 20% down, having the mortgage payment on a 7% interest, high sixes, whatever that might be, that could be a problem for people as it just makes the numbers go higher and higher and higher when we have high interest rates, high insurance, high taxes, high everything else that comes into that. So anything that can get the price down per month is gonna be really helpful. So here's what we talked about with this seller. So I said to the seller, Mr. Seller, what if you did a short-term seller financing deal? Here's what that would look like. Sales price of $795K, excuse me, with 10% down, and then you finance the rest over a 5-year period at 5% interest. We'll call it a 25-year amortization. So what that means is someone's gonna make payments to you, Mr. Seller, as if they are paying on a 25-year mortgage. However, at the 5-year period, it is due in full. So you may ask yourself the question, how does that work? How am I going to pay $795,000 within 5 years? I don't know how to do that. This is when people check out because they aren't sure of how that works, and I want to walk you through how that works. So if we come over here and we look at that, if you have a $795,000 mortgage, and your down payment is 10%. So that's $79,500, okay? So owner financed, if you pay this down, the owner finance portion is going to be $715,500. And again, with a 25-year AM with a 5-year balloon. So now you're getting a 5% interest rate, which is incredible for today's market. You can't find that anywhere if you're buying a house right now. So you're getting a 5% interest on this $715,500, which comes out to $4,180 a month, principal and interest. So that's not including your insurance and taxes. We're not talking about that right now. We're talking about simply what you would pay the bank in principal and interest payments. So that $4,180 a month is going to be your payment. Now, if you do that, what happens over 5 years? So you make these payments over a 5-year period, that gets you to a remaining balance of $642,000. That's your remaining balance at the end of 5 years. The seller has been making interest, 5% interest on the loan through this whole time, but you've also been making principal payments to go towards the purchase. So this is the remaining balance at the end of all of that. So you have paid $73,500 over 5 years. Okay, so just from having owner financed or seller financed situation happening, you have been able to pay first your down payment, $79,500, and then you've been able to pay $73,500 over the 5 years, which is a total of $153,000. So you paid $153,000, and again, remember our purchase price was $795,000. Now we need to talk about equity in a home and what has happened over those 5 years. What typically happens in an equity situation is on a regular, normal situation, properties are gonna grow anywhere from 2 to 6% per year, depending on what you do with the property, what the market's doing, different things like that. You're going to have these growths. So let's just say we have a 4% growth per year for 5 years. So what that does is that takes your original $795,000 and now makes this property worth $967,000. You see this all the time. You have seen this your whole life. Someone buys a property. 5 years later, you're like, man, I can't believe they only bought that property for $795,000. That's crazy. That has literally happened our whole lives. It doesn't matter if you are 30 years old, 50 years old, 80 years old. You have seen this in every decade that has gone by where someone looks at the numbers and goes, I wish I would have bought that house back then. That's because the equity goes up, the amount that the property goes up, everything goes up in real estate, and it has since the beginning of time. So this $967,000, remember you have a loan balance of $642,000, which means your equity position is $325,000 from what you bought it for, what you owe on it, and what it's worth. So the worth number now minus what you owe gives you your equity position of $325,000, which is incredible. Okay, and the last step is gonna be the exit. What is our exit? We owe this in full at the end of 5 years, $642,000 at this point. How are we gonna do this? Well, again, remember at the beginning, we didn't want to go to a traditional bank to be able to pay 20% down and a 7% interest rate and all the things that were going on. So now we have to look and see, okay, what is today's interest rate 5 years later? And this is the unknown of seller financing. It could be 5%. We could look up in 5 years and say, hey, interest rates are down to 5% now with a traditional bank. It could be 7% where it already is today. It could be 9%. The likelihood of that is very small, but there is always that chance. However, if you go and you look at the history of mortgages and the history of the average of a mortgage rate and what the interest rate's gonna be, you're probably gonna be sitting pretty good within a 5-year period. If we go to a bank is going to, remember that 20% down we talked about? So if you have $967,000 and they need 20% down, that's going to give you a total of $773,600. That would be the difference in these two. Now, mind you, your equity is already here. So you're going to be able to get a loan, more than likely, from any bank without bringing any more money to the table because you have this equity position in a refinance. So that's gonna allow you to be able to bring no money down, pay off the seller, and now you have a traditional mortgage on this property. You could even get cash out to do some renovations or some different things like that because of your equity position, depending on what the house is worth after a 5-year period. So this is where seller financing can be extremely helpful if you're willing to take the risk. We'll say the risk. The only risk is we don't know what the market looks like in 5 years. That is the risk. Could the interest rates be 30%? Sure, they could be, but the likelihood of that is extremely small. They're going to be somewhere more than likely within the same numbers that we're talking about here, but it allows you to get in at a really good number today to have an extremely great number of value 5 years down the road. If you have any questions, again, my name is Eric. I'm a real estate agent. I'm a real estate investor. I'm on my 14th property right now that I have bought, half of them with traditional financing and half with creative financing. And I really believe that it just depends on every deal that you do, what is available to you from a seller's perspective and from a buyer's perspective. So happy to help in any way I can. Eric Wilkins with Vibe Realty. Thanks, bye.